Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the edition of How Did This Get Booked? I, of course, am your host, Jake Manning. I'm the veteran of the professional wrestling business for over a decade, and I've held every single job except selling popcorn. I'm joined, as always, by my tag team partner, my good buddy, my bosom buddy. Bosom buddy. You know, like we would dress in drag just so we can get a discounted rate on an apartment.
I'm doing it right now.
Okay. So I'd obviously be Peter Scolari. You can be Tom Hanks.
I'll definitely be Tom Hanks. He's the only guy not assaulting women right now. I'll be that guy.
Yeah, Peter Scolari might have touched somebody weird.
Probably did.
Maybe did.
Like a creep. He looks like one of those types of guys.
Yeah, on the cast of Newhart, you know.
Oh, man.
Although everyone loves Tom Hanks so much, you know, they say sociopaths are real charming.
I can see he's going to be the when he finally comes out as being like a toucher, that's when the world will take it on as a new normalcy. And we're going to be in this weird thing where us not being deviant perverts is wrong, almost.
And then Sean Handy's like, I told y'all.
Yeah.
I told y'all I'm normal.
Roy Moore's trying to do it right now in Arkansas. So, I mean, he's touching kids. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the new norm here soon. And we're just going to be looked down upon for not touching children.
Yeah. But,
by the way, I'm good. Jake, how are you?
Okay. You're good on your child molesting stance right now?
I listened to a whole mess of NPR on the way over here, so I'm in a place.
Okay, well, I'll...
full of Evan Williams and information.
Okay, so I have to be the righty on this episode?
Yeah, I'm going to need you to really ring it in over the conservative side.
Okay. The voice that you heard contributing a little sooner, you may recognize from a previous episode, joining us again on the How Did This Get Booked podcast, Matt Barrentine. Matt, how are you doing?
Pretty good.
I was, you were definitely of the people that we put in the bank. I'm like, we have to bring this person back. You were in that bank, and
I'm flattered to be on what I would call a very special episode.
It's a very PC way to say it.
I think in the last time you were on, we're like, oh, we'll give you something like a WWE or WCW instead of just some random indie show.
Yeah.
And like, no, I just gave you the most random indie show. Yeah. Again, I was like, well, this is Matt's wheelhouse. You know,
this is where he's gonna thrive.
This is where he's gonna thrive.
The freak show.
Exactly. But let's just jump right into the... Actually, no, before we get there, because since you're coming back, Matt, did doing our podcast inspire you at all to maybe watch some more professional wrestling than you would?
Not really.
That was a grimace. He also did a grimace there when I was asking the question.
I almost went to see this movie about the $1 Million Man with my friend the other day, but I didn't go.
I was gonna go, but then I didn't. Which we maybe missed the thing. We probably should go see that movie, Jake.
I didn't realize it was.
It's like only at one theater,
in
like South Charlotte or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's only in like indie art house theaters.
Okay, I saw a Kickstarter for it like years ago, like 2 years ago, maybe 3.
They started it.
Yeah,
it got kicked.
It
won.
Okay.
Won the game.
It got in the theater, so it did better than Dynamite Kid documentary they put together. So, good on them. Can't talk shit about them.
Yeah.
But what we can probably talk shit about is today's
quite
show.
Easily.
Is today's show, which is Atlantic Coast Professional Wrestling. The show took place November 12th in 2005 at Lakewood High School, which is located somewhere between Salemburg and Roseboro, North Carolina, which is not far from Fayetteville, North Carolina.
Those places.
Oh, yes. Those places that Johnny Cash sang of.
But before we jump into the discussion of the show, you had a question. I said I'd leave it for a surprise, and I was going to leave it for the end. But
you saying it's a surprise confirmed my thoughts.
Okay.
I don't want to give that part away yet, though.
You don't want to give that part away?
No, because I was just going to shit on it the entire time.
Well,
no, I think giving it away now and shitting on it because I have a lot of compliments.
I didn't. So, I mean, you should say what we're talking about, Jake.
We're basically talking about who the commentator is.
Yeah. Which I didn't figure out till like the 5th match, even though my very first note is, sounds like Jake.
Yes, this is my
It had the dances and everything like that. I thought it was, like when it started. At first I didn't think anything of it at all. I just kind of like...
Neither did I.
This guy's awful, and then I just droned it out a bit, and then I was like, I think this is Jake. I think this is younger Jake. This is 12 years ago Jake.
Yes.
I listened more for the first 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and I think I was like, it's not him. What am I talking about? That's crazy. 2005.
I had to argue with myself too if it was him or not.
I had to argue with myself because when I first heard it, I was like, did I let somebody? Because I know I did it. I had a vivid memory of doing commentary because I had a vivid memory of walking by the commentary stand and the show was starting and I go, oh, I guess I'm doing commentary.
I'll sit here now.
But I couldn't remember if that was one match in or two match in, or if I sent it off to somebody else to do one match. And then when I turned it on, I go, that's not me. And then I started listening more, like, that is me.
Yeah.
Man.
You said some joke, and I was like, nope, that's totally Jake.
Yeah.
Jake working on his tight 5 right now here in 2005.
Yeah, I'm sorry and thrilled to tell you that when I still didn't think it was you, I was like, I'm going to write down verbatim a bunch of the stuff this guy is saying.
Oh, I did.
I'm going to really focus on how bad this announcer is, more than the wrestling, probably.
That was so... Most of the wrestling in this show is basically the exact same stuff.
So boring.
Just slow-ass lock-up, weird roll-up finish. Because it's all older guys.
Yeah,
so the commentary was the best part.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's the thing, too. That's what made it so tough. But this is actually my commentary debut.
No, what you don't say.
Yeah, really?
I hope it was also your retirement.
Well, that was the funny thing. There's a lot of ums and likes and a lot of me struggling to find words. And I feel like I've been doing it enough for Wrestling Revolver and other companies over time that I've gotten better at it. And also I've podcasted, I've been in front of a microphone and talked. And I kind of feel like that I've gotten better. But then this last Wrestling Revolver show, I caught a chunk in there where I'm going, and I'm struggling for words. I go, oh, so I'm not much better at all.
Full circle, guys.
Full circle, I'm just as bad as I was on this day as I am now.
So you're saying that we could possibly get a remastered re-release of this show, but with 2017 Jake doing commentary in 2005 wrestling?
Yeah, and we may even get my commentary partner AR Fox to jump in to make it even weirder.
You mean the stylings of AR Fox and Jake Manning weren't Pulitzer winning?
Oh, well, they are. We were nominated for sure.
Of course.
But, as far as winning, that's another thing. But that's what I think a lot of this show does is there's a lot of older guys that don't want to do much against younger guys. So there is a lot of that. But
there's a ton of people like in this show.
Yeah,
Not necessarily not necessarily good, but just a ton of guys. Did 800 people come to set up the ring, and you're like, fuck it, let's use them all.
Yeah, well, I remember I used to wrestle for these guys quite a bit, and it was and I wrestled at this high school. I actually tagged with Dennis Condrey, who's in the first match. We were the New Midnight Express.
Of course.
Wow. Of course. And I used to love wrestling for these guys because I would go with Charlie Dreamer, who's also in the first match, who I didn't know. It breaks my fucking heart that one of my best friends is wrestling in the ring and I don't know his fucking name. Because I hadn't met him yet.
No, that's great.
So that's
budding romance here.
So it was like a 60-year-old man and a child was the Midnight Express for a while?
Well, at least that show that I came back to. And the thing was...
The new Midnight Express.
The best part of what we used to do, because I was a huge alcoholic then, is I would just drive us to Wilmington, and then we would come in the night before... just spend all night in Wilmington getting just absolute drunk, wake up the next day, lie on the Wrightsville Beach, get up, drive to Roseboro for this show, and wrestle, and then run back to Wilmington, because a lot of the guys that were on that show were also bouncers at City Limits, which you might recognize from one of the season finales of Eastbound and Down.
Yeah.
And... they basically would run security for the end of that. We'd stay over, drink all the way through the night, get up again, take our sweet time, working our way back home. Maybe we'd go to the beach again or whatever. But that was basically what I did. And when I teamed with Dennis Condrey, I had this massive sunburn. I was completely red, and I had but I was white on the sides. So there's a picture that I'll post on the Facebook I have my arms raised and I have the weirdest suntan line ever.
You have like an HBK no sides or sleeves shirt tan?
Yes, and that's when I was wearing trunks, and I probably was a little bit more oversized than I should be wearing trunks. I think that was in my bulking phase.
280 pounds of neck?
Yeah.
Jake Manning?
Pretty much. But, I used to love wrestling for these guys all the time.
Yeah.
It was always a lot of fun, and we did an awful job filming their shows all the time, obviously. So, like,
commentating them.
And awful job with graphics, and I've always been awful with match graphics. Awful job commentary.
It was definitely better shot than the one I saw last time. So that's good.
Well, it's nice to know the high spots had a level of quality we didn't dip below.
Yeah.
So.
He wasn't giving you 5 stars, but you're not getting one.
There were just fewer moves that you couldn't see at all.
Yeah, and there's a lot of my friends are sprinkled out throughout this show. So, but I didn't have a problem putting this show up there to like us criticize, because I feel like we're going to criticize my commentary more than anything. Like, if you're going to shit on anybody the most, it's going to be me. So I don't have a problem with what we say about anybody, because I'm going to take the brunt of it.
I think we touched last time on how bored I am by like Royal Rumbles and stuff, because it's just so many people locking up in the corner, and like you can't do anything cool because there's people in your way. It's just like, it's so boring. You know, it's like all the matches in this.
Yeah.
So a whole bunch of this, right?
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, there's things you do that work well for a live crowd, but they don't work well on DVD for sure. And this show
makes a lot of sense.
This for sure is like for a live audience for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's definitely that. But
So this is a DVD? You refer to that at some point.
Yeah.
This being a DVD.
Well, in 2005, DVDs were a thing.
Oh, no. That's not why I'm surprised. I'm surprised they didn't get someone who's done commentary before to be on their DVD.
Yeah. Well, this will be filmed for a DVD. Maybe we should get a team out here.
Yeah.
Well, fuck
We'll
it.
give the kid a shot.
Some dude will walk by and assume it's his role.
Well, that's
This is a dare to be
well, trust me.
We'll throw Brad Studs in there if he fucks up too bad.
No, they didn't throw him in. I saw him like,
he was waddling his ass somewhere. And
he was.
let's get into this show. Now I gotta talk about Brad Stutz.
Okay, well let's just dive right into
go
match.
back to the first one. Yeah.
Match number 1.
Let's get started, guys.
Dream Lovers versus the Midnight Express with Brad Stutz. Dream Lovers I just refers to as the Dream Lovers because I don't know my friends' names.
You keep calling him the Dream Lover, like clearly not remembering his name. That's great.
Well, because I haven't met them. I have not met Charlie Dreamer or Dr. Love.
Who's Dr. Love?
Dr. Love, Daniel Messina, I believe is his real name. But I think I've been to both of their weddings. But I had not met them yet. So it's like, when I look back at this,
That's
and
so
I don't
bizarre.
know who they are, it's the weirdest. That's the weirdest thing about this, is like, my best friends are in the ring right now. Yeah. I have not met them. I don't know them. They are a stranger to me. It is the weirdest thing ever. I've been to both of these men's weddings, I believe. I don't remember if I was at Daniel's or not, but I was definitely at Charlie's.
Yeah.
I know that for sure. So, but yeah, it's just really odd.
This fucking dance that Dr. Love does.
Oh yeah,
blew my mind. Blew my mind.
I did not understand.
I don't even get that as a
like,
move.
how do you? That's what they settled on. It's like, that looks cool, right? Like,
what if I do this thing where I like I don't know. We're all doing the dance, but we can't really explain to you how we're doing it.
Yeah, and they couldn't really do it. Like, you pick one move. Like, pick something you can both kind of pull off.
No. Just Dr. Love could. This is the Love Shake or something. I don't know.
Well, he was always like really over on that promotion.
Well, they popped for it every time he did it.
Exactly.
It got worse every time.
But I remember I wrestled Charlie in Chester, South Carolina, and I go, arm drag, do the Dream Lover dance, because I wanted to get it over somewhere else. Yeah. He did it, and everybody was like, acted like you guys did. What the fuck was that?
So which one is which?
Charlie is the blonde.
Okay.
Dr. Love is the dancer.
Like, what's that movie where Jake Busey has the long hair? That's what I reminded of. Or one of the brothers Nelson. I guess you could be even more 80s about it. And then who's the other one?
Dr. Love is the brown-haired one.
The one that did the dance originally.
Yeah.
The one, it always blows my mind, because there's obviously a lot of heavy-set fellas in wrestling, but it's weird when there's like a skinny guy who's just flabby.
Skinny fat Dr. Love.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he will definitely attest to that. And he also used to do this belly jiggle too. When he moved away from the tribal dances, I called it.
Some sort of tribal dance, and that was the first time I was like, "Who is this fucking guy? What the fuck is this retard talking about?"
But no, he would do like the belly roll thing, and like that he used to do that later in his career.
Later, he had to work up to it.
Yeah, when the dance wasn't working anymore.
He's like, I gotta get a new thing over. Mm-hmm. Belly roll.
My plan, again, before I realized it was you, was I was going to write down one quote for every match and just read it.
Oh, please.
And I don't claim to be good at impressions, and it's going to be impossible to deliver these at all like you did, because the way you emphasize syllables is Walkinian in its randomness.
That's the biggest word we've ever used on this show. Walkinian.
Coinage, I think. So it's one of the first things you say as the match begins. These Dream Lovers seem to be quite impressive, working over the arm quite well on a very experienced tag team, the Midnight Express. And there's beautiful Bobby taking it to him, doing his Matt psychology that he does better than everybody else in this business.
At first I thought you were having a stroke. And then I realized you wrote it out that way. Yeah. You typed those quivers.
What is Matt psychology? Is that a thing?
I mean,
yeah.
Not when Jake says it. It's real creepy.
No, I just made it up on the fly. You were seeing a young man get in over his head and struggle profusely for 2 hours. That's what this is.
It's 2 hours of him going, uh-oh.
What did I get into? What did I get into? Oh,
I'm just going to leave.
You know, you guys wrestle, but I do stand-up, so I can identify so much more with you as the commentator in this, and just, like, your mind racing for something to say, and, like, you know, you have a few good moments where you, like, call out the names of moves real fast and, like, show that side of it, but, man, you're vamping.
You're improv there.
But that's the thing when you guys when they're doing more of a live audience thing, they're not doing anything in the ring, so I can't call anything, and that's where a color guy, to be like a heel guy when Brad Stutz would come in, noticeably would get better because you have somebody to ping pong off of, but I have nothing to bounce off of because nothing is happening.
No one's got you, no one's...
I think you said like 12 times, he's showing his disapproval to the crowd, like, because there would just be 30 seconds where a guy's just yelling at the crowd.
So they didn't have to wrestle.
Well, and also too, like, there's, I do curse like a sailor quite a bit, so like there's a thing like I can't curse on a microphone, and when you're like, oh, I'm not, like, you do a show and you can't, and it's gotta be squeaky clean, you get more in your head, and
as if you weren't already overthinking it. Like,
exactly.
You're also like, how do I call this something besides telling him to fuck off?
And you get to a point where, like, oh, is ass acceptable? Like, can I say shit? Or like should I say SOB, or is that over the line too? Like,
should I say the letter, or should I say son of a bitch?
Yeah.
However, Stone Cold right now.
But I also like talk about a hammerlock and your big brother. By the way, I don't have a big brother. I don't know why I came up with that analogy.
It seemed like a very personal story.
That was the point where I was like, is this me?
What am I even doing?
This is not
I created a family member.
Yeah, I'm the oldest brother. Like, was I talking about myself? Was I being meta here? What's going on?
That's so amazing that you didn't know for sure either.
I didn't, because, like, that's not how my voice sounds right now.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because of the test boosters or the pain, like, that I've experienced in trauma in life.
Well, how old were you in 2005? I mean,
I think
years ago,
yeah, 12 years.
So I was like 23.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this was like in the middle of, like, probably the second worst relationship I'd ever had. It was like kind of between, like, girlfriends. Like, this was like a very vulnerable week. And also too, like, I had just moved to Charlotte. Like, I was supposed to be here for a 3-month internship. I showed up in May of 2005. I was only supposed to be here for 3 months, so I was supposed to be out by August. I got offered a full-time position 2 weeks in, I'm still sleeping on a mattress on the floor at the High Spots apartment. I am driving my S10 pickup truck that's falling apart. And I'm in this city. I don't know anybody. And the two people that I did the internship had just left. And I now have a new group of people living here who I have no fucking clue who they are. And it just, I have no friends. I know nothing. I'm just here on a dream. And I'm working a full-time job for the first time in my life. So,
Sure.
in a city where I know nobody. And managing probably a budding alcohol problem.
Did they pay you for this?
No, this was just my job. This was just my job. On top of working at the office all week long, my job was to go film this show and apparently do commentary on it.
Yeah.
It's just so there's somebody doing commentary on it, so I don't have to like make my job even harder where I have to find somebody in commentary and post.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is me just jumping in and just doing it. So
That's pretty awesome.
and the reason we're filming it is because we're selling merchandise at the show because there's a decent crowd and making a couple $100 at that show was good enough for Michael at that time.
Yeah.
Or if we did the show today, he would want $2,000
Oh, of course.
for it to even be worth his time.
Yeah.
So, but this was a very early part of the time and it made good connections and I eventually wrestled for these people and my best friends are on the show.
Yeah,
for
you
Christ's
have
sake.
a lot of people on this.
And even my mortal enemy, which we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But anything else that we can discuss about this match
I
number
just
one?
found it real boring. I don't want to watch old dudes. I'm sorry. I'm sure they were like great at some point, but
I felt great for Charlie getting to wrestle the Midnight Express. That was cool.
Yeah.
And then I was like, good for Charlie. And then like, stop dancing. And then
Oh, they did.
they had some
did.
weird, fucked up, convoluted finish thing, some whip off spot later in the game, and I don't even recall why it was so weird. But yeah, it was just more like, listen to this commentary. This match is kind of whatever. And it was like, what was the finish? Was it a quick roll up?
It was with because Brad Stutz, you know,
That's right. Brad Stutz missed the golf club spot.
Yeah,
Roll
and
up.
Brad Stutz, the most agile I've ever seen him in his life.
That was a slim, trim, 400-pound Brad Stutz right there. Not the pushing sixer he is today. He's not listening.
Yeah.
He might be. Hey, Brad. Whatever.
Yeah, thanks for saving me a couple matches later. On
Yeah.
Brad.
Thanks for your contribution.
Thank you for contributing.
Thanks, golf clubs.
Appreciate it, but yeah, I felt very good that Charlie and Dr. Love got to have this moment, and I think it was, you know, just as special as when Charlie teamed with Ricky Morton and I teamed with Bobby one time, and I felt like that was like, you know, because really the Dream Lovers are taking kind of the spot of the Rock and Roll Express. You know, and this is all Greek to you right now. But, like, that's basically kind of what they're going for. And like I said, I'm just glad that the Dream Lovers...
Yeah, you know what's really missing right now? Some Rock and Roll Express.
Yeah.
Charlie, go put on your fucking tie-dye pants. Let's do it.
But, yeah, that was the thing. Like, me and Charlie used to hang out with Bobby and Ricky all the time. And so, like, when we got to tag in that combination, it was kind of a cool moment. Probably
Yeah,
much
course.
like this was a cool moment for him.
Yeah.
But, let's move on to match number 2, which may not be quite as cool a moment. Mr. Hughes taking on Hang Time, and Mr. Hughes wearing his sunglasses the entire match.
How is that possible?
That's what he's known for. That's the
Really?
that's the most impressive thing he
Well,
does.
it wasn't like he was going out there and doing a bunch.
I mean, he did a couple like full flips and stuff.
Yeah,
which
he
I'm
took
like,
some
how-
hip tosses.
He did the exact same open as the last match with the handshake gut kick.
Well, we see
there were 3 of those
Yeah.
in the show.
and it
Yeah, I
also,
think Buff does it later too.
But you know, I've never seen that go well. Where
Yeah.
they become friends and they hug and then they go have lunch. or whatever.
No, just call this shit off and go home.
I mean, I don't watch that much wrestling. I'm sure it happens all the time. But I've never seen it.
You actually know it? It doesn't. It never happens. It's always go to handshake gut kick. It's always that.
yeah, nobody locks up anymore. That's just what we do.
Yeah, that's going to start being how I start every match now.
This was also the second match where a gimmick was used and it backfired on him.
With the exact same roll-up position.
Also, too, there's a couple of things that happened off camera that I noticed from my vantage point with Mr. Hughes. Before the show started, Mr. Hughes walked out, and this was a pretty good crowd, so it was a pretty good house. I remember Mr. Hughes walking out, looking around, and looking like he was counting the people. Then I saw him stop counting, shake his head, and then walk away. And I go, "Oh, I guarantee he's going to the promoter and asking for more money now." Because we all know the real person that drew the house was Mr. Hughes, not
course.
Rick Steiner and Buff Bagwell.
No. Not the guys that were actually in WCW for a while.
Also, too, post-match,
Uh-huh.
there was, if you notice, it fades off real fast, and Hang Time just kind of pulls Katie Kincaid with him for whatever he said.
Well, I'm going to take this white bitch.
I'm glad you said it, because that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, like, whoa.
I won this match, I get this white girl.
Fade to black.
Yep.
Literally and figuratively.
Yep.
But what happened after that is Mr. Hughes stayed in the ring, and I cut this out, and I'll tell you why. You'll find out why when I tell you, is he got on the microphone, and he said, "Hold on a minute now." And he started cutting a promo, and he called Hang Time the N-word.
Yeah.
On a live microphone. We'll never forget that. And when he said it, like, everybody's like, "Huh? Did he just say that? Well, huh?"
I remember my favorite part of this match, but I want you go ahead and read your line so I can see if it's my line.
Okay, so it was one of the first things you said in this one, too. It just says, some of his tactics are unfavorable in the wrestling world, and many people know that. It's about Mr. Hughes, a.k.a. Total Protection, a.k.a. the Big Cat.
I did not remember him ever being called the Big Cat. It was like,
He was.
like, does this jackass say this dirty lad? And
When he first started, he was the Big Cat. Okay.
So my favorite part is you're talking about. So Hughes is getting heat from the crowd, John or whatever, and you go, "These guys are calling him everything in the book right now, all the negative terms." And I want to be like, "You mean the N-word, right? You mean everyone's just yelling the N-word."
There are some things they'd like to call him in this Lakeview crowd right now. It's like, what are you implying, Jake?
Are you trying to tell me Lakeview is all full of racists?
Well, I will say this about Lakeview: as they were fighting on the outside, and I was looking at all the people in the audience. This is like 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Fashion in Lakewood hasn't changed.
No, still.
I guarantee those people, if there was a wrestling show
Still
tomorrow, they would be wearing those same exact clothes.
Johnny Hilfiger.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning, Indianapolis Colts jerseys.
Big Johnson t-shirts.
Yeah, all of those things. Those people are still dressed that way even today. And also, too, me included. I guarantee the hoodie that that I got over here that I was just wearing, I guarantee I was wearing that while doing commentary. I promise you.
My other favorite thing in that match was where he's like running back and forth, and so you're like, ducks a clothesline, ducks a back elbow, but then he tries to sell it, even though he's like, from your vantage point, like, is so clearly under the guy's arm.
Well, I was trying to save it because they clearly messed
and then
up.
he tries to sell it, and you're like, oh, I guess he must have barely got him.
That's a professional move.
No, it is.
I got you guys.
That's kind of more on them than you.
I'm defending my commentary skills, okay?
You got to good brother him after the match where you went up to him and was, "Hey man, you guys flub that spot a little bit, but don't worry, I took care of you on commentary."
Yeah,
that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, it's true.
Hey brother. But speaking of hey brother, match number 3, ready to get there right now?
Yeah.
No more lines for me for match
adrenaline title.
Yes, the 7-man ladder match for the adrenaline title.
Holy fuck.
I'm not even for sure most of these guys are still wrestling, and I definitely still don't know any of their names. I didn't know the day of. All I knew was Jay Steele and Stick With It, who is actually Dave Dawson.
Stick with it, please.
What's his name?
Yes, that's what he was.
Sick with it.
That's obviously what he was announced as, and that's all the information I had.
Yeah.
And these PA systems at wrestling shows they're horrible to talk about. Yeah, they're just awful. Yeah, and you can't understand anything. So stick with it, like stick with it, like
stick with it.
Sick, like I'm sick with it.
Oh,
like
stick with it. Like, don't give up. I'm a baby.
Yeah, that's what I don't know.
Sick. And you really hit the D, like sick with it,
like only a white person could.
Yeah.
Oh, like only a child, raised in Iowa, could, So. But what are the thoughts on this ladder match? I know you said Royal Rumbles aren't exciting, but this was all action.
It was a ladder match, and they're like mostly pretty big dudes, so it was like cool bumps and stuff.
Yeah.
Like they were hitting the ground hard, That was fun to watch.
Well, I'll tell you what. The MVP was the black guy in all black. His falls off the ladder were the best because he did not care how he was going to land off there. Like there's one point where they just push him off and he just kind of like flings himself. Like,
how would Jeff Hardy do it? That's how I'm gonna do it.
Like Jeff Hardy before he was signed when he was backyard Hardy. Like also there was an airplane spin with the ladder that was. Not really.
Seems like a really good way to break your own neck. It's a very strange way to wield that weapon.
A ref at one point in time was standing on the bottom rope, which I don't even know why the ref is in the ring.
I felt like there was a different ref for each match.
Almost.
Like there was a dude and there's Katie once or twice. And then there's like some random old dude that takes him up later.
Skinny old guy.
Yeah.
Who like shoves Buff Bagwell. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
That was one of my
favorite
favorite
It felt
parts.
like there was just a different ref each time. Like you had just as many refs as you had workers also.
Not a shortage of refs on the eastern part of North Carolina, obviously. Western part, nobody. In Charlotte show, lucky to find a referee. So
you got to start reffing yourself and hopefully one will show up.
Yeah. That's why George South would run shows without a referee.
Yeah, didn't need him.
Yeah, didn't need him. They got in the way.
Yeah.
So
what is it called when you sit a guy down in the corner and then you get up on the turnbuckle and then you like jump off and land on your knees to headbutt him in the dick? Just doesn't seem
counterproductive.
Yeah.
Innovative?
Yeah, it's something very strange.
I don't think that's the word, but it's a synonym, I believe, of that.
There are a lot of moves where, like, the physics don't make any sense. Like, there was one in the first match, I think. It's that thing where he's got the guy in an abdominal stretch, and he's, like, grabbing his tag team partner. He's just, like, jumping up and down. It's like, that's not doing anything.
It's leverage,
really
brother.
on your hips. You're, like, bending this guy. Like, you give me... you're just holding hands for, like, moral support.
Give me your strength.
Yeah.
Pass it through your body to mine.
So I got the quote before we move on.
Please.
We have men all over the place. Once again, folks, I apologize. This action is too fast and too furious for me to call. I can merely do nothing but stand by and merely... And then you realize you said merely already.
Making edits in my mind.
I can merely do nothing but stand by and try and call the mayhem the best I can. It's just
I have a feeling that's not the only thing I should apologize for.
I want to do a different. I want to add to the remastered, re-release version of this, where you do 2017 commentary over 2005. I want an alternate commentary track done by Matt.
Let's transcribe the whole thing.
Where Matt just repeats what you said. The original in 2005.
You don't think merely there's enough people?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm merely Jake Manning.
Oh, but we can't move on without talking about that sunset flip powerbomb off the ladder, or two guys almost die. If you remember that part at all, that was rather vicious, and also too, the part where Dave Dawson realized he didn't have the ladder, moved it at an appropriate place for him to get speared off of it properly. So there's a little bit of adjustment there. Anything else about this ladder match?
I noticed this thing where the two guys crawling up either side of the ladder, and the one guy gets to the top and like just so obviously doesn't try to reach up or anything, just crawls over the top. So he's upside down.
That's what I was talking about. That's exactly what I was talking about. That's a sunset flip powerbomb.
Okay, yeah. It did look very dangerous, but it was also just so like, all right, you good? Let me get into place. You know, it's like so clumsy.
But the thing is, like, he's kind of supposed to kind of flip, but like he just went straight down first at one point in time.
He's trying to pile drive himself a little bit.
Gravity affected him a little bit differently than everybody else in the match.
The guy that gravity remembered.
Yes. Most certainly did not forget. But we cannot forget about match number 4, which is Amber O'Neal taking on Chrissy Vane. And the whole time this match happened, I was thinking, Jake, please don't say anything problematic. Please don't say anything. You're a 23-year-old man. You don't know how to deal with women in general. Just don't
These aren't the
anything.
ones to say anything wrong about.
Yeah. So.
And again, not realizing it was you during this, I was thinking like, oh man, this is such a great window into like the pervasive sexism in our culture. Like, this poor guy, he seems like a sweet kid, but he's just... Everything he says has this sort of condescending subtext. And I know it's part of the sort of wrestling milieu and our culture at large, but, you know, it's the thing that people are so mad because... If you ask them, they're like, I'm not sexist. I don't hate women. Like, because, you know, like, people don't understand that they can be accidentally racist or sexist. So they're so mad at liberals for telling them they're being sexist, you know.
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. I was worried about it, too, because I know mentally where I was at the time, not good. And also, too, I'm trying... You have to paint somebody as the bad guy, but then, like, the idea, oh, she didn't say hi to me. And then
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, that's a bit problematic. But once again, I don't really know how to convey how she's a bad person. It's for you to get against her, so you get behind the good guy.
Yeah.
And that's all I had really to work on at the time. So
it seems like she's a very no-nonsense person. She wants things done on her terms, which is the way most women are, I guess. But I'm not quite the expert on women as it is, and I'm sure these women are quite big puzzles themselves.
What's wrong with you? I was going through complex shit right now, okay? Like, my
This guy is a virgin.
Referee warns her, but she's having none of it, not listening to a single word that this man has to say. Once again, very similar to most women I've met in my life. But that's another DVD, folks.
Okay, I'm sorry, alright? The woman I was engaged with was blowing every dick on the street, okay? Like, can you allow me to maybe be a little bit off-putting when talking about women during a women's match when Jerry Lawler's screaming puppies into a microphone in this era?
Maybe you should have went straight puppy time.
Well, that's kind of what Brad Stuntz did when he showed up.
Well, yeah, he had to come creep out with you. That was fun.
Where he this is where he shows up, where he talks about Ref Katie's padonkadonk.
I believe that's the next match. Or no, a couple matches later.
A different reference.
I did notice I said, if you will, a lot during this match.
If you will.
Of some sort of, like, was another thing that I said a lot. But yeah. Anything else we say about this match?
It was actually a pretty good match.
Yeah, like,
you know,
it was again so sexist that like they're like spanking each other, and then like she gets her down and just messes up her hair.
Well, yeah, Amber O'Neal is a very, we'll say, well-respected customs wrestler.
Yeah,
and so a lot of her matches,
maybe even regular wrestler, like people are aware of her.
Well, I think that's what, like, but she's done so many customs, and customs is like clothed wrestling porn.
Or so empty arena matches where you're like, you know, like a particular client will like, hey, I would like to see a lot of bear hugs, head scissors, pile drivers. Like there's specific moves that they're would like to see from a particular wrestler,
and they're going to pay for this to be on video,
which is good money.
Yeah, I mean,
why not? But
but they'll do like we've done some customs, and like Amber was there and was doing ones where she had to like have tickle spots, like she had to like tickle and do spankings and hair pullings and stuff like that.
Oh boy, there's a great documentary called Tickled, by the way. Everyone should watch. That's all I'll say about it.
Like, you know, maybe 5 steps away from that. Like that's probably a good idea.
So for her doing that kind of stuff in this type of setting, it makes a lot of sense. Like you would do, it's a southern town, they'll pop for anything like that. So just do the easy stuff there. So I think that's why you would get a lot of the spanking and the hair pulling.
And female wrestling was like far different at this time. This is the era where they were hiring models, and you had like a guy telling him what to do, and they would be telling him to do mess up hair spots, spank spots, Bronco Buster spots. You know, like it was very sexualized as opposed to females being female athletes. And,
like they are more so today.
And it also took like a lot of like females to be like, no, I'm not going to do that shit. I'm going to wrestle like a wrestler. And it took a lot of people to change their attitudes and thought processes through that and see.
And there still aren't people that some people are still against it. Like,
and I mean, I don't know. Last time I saw Raw, it still wasn't like treated with the same level as the other matches. You know what I mean? It's like. Well, more like they get fast forwarded a lot.
Well, and that's the thing too. It took a lot of like really special women to come along and demand the respect and also to like us to notice like, all right, they're going through the same exact thing that we're going through. Let's show them the same amount of respect. Where some girls during this era knew how to leverage themselves properly, and so someone like me or us or anybody else could look around and like, well, you're taking some shortcuts here that I'm not really afforded, and it's a little unfair.
I can't give Jake a spanking in the middle of the ring and get a good reaction.
And also like, backstage.
Get a positive,
as a heel, you really get some mileage out of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on that next time I wrestle. Just randomly spank someone in the middle of my match.
But when you get a girl in there and they're getting in there and they're doing hurricanranas off the top and flipping and taking
that's the best.
And taking all of your big maneuvers that you're giving to a 250-pound guy, and they're like, sure, give me that, German suplex, and then hang on to it and give me 5 more, you know? And
my favorites are always like the smaller dudes, because they can do that high-flying flippity-flip shit. It's awesome.
And we have a whole crop of girls that can do that right now. And at this time, that's, this match is pretty similar to what you would see a woman's match be in 2005, and that's kind of all that the old guard would let it be.
Yeah,
and that's why the whole time I'm like, I hope I'm not showing my age or showing my, how far how I wasn't as progressive as I was now, I would say.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing too, is attitudes change and perceptions and opinions change because of experiences. And I had far more experiences to go through in life, and I was not having a good experience in life at that moment in time, as I just said. So
we get it, Jake. You're on a downward spiral.
All right, I talked about their equipment a little too much. All right, sorry.
Yeah, their body language is both great though. Like I was very impressed, not so much by the wrestling parts, but just them in the ring, just their body language. Like, the one girl's like the cute, bubbly cheerleader, and the other one's like sassy girl, and like, which would be more offensive if any of the men in the whole show had even that much characterization. Probably the two most well-drawn personalities in the whole show.
Here pulling each other's hair and spanking each other.
Yeah, these girls, they took this match around the loop. Yeah. They booked every corner of North Carolina and South Carolina to do this show.
They're both very attractive.
Yeah. Amber's still a very lovely lady.
Speaking of attractive, match number 5, we have the Stro, Barbarian, the Diamond Hunters taking on Sean Cruz, Brandon Moretti, and East Coast Bodily Harm. I don't even think anyone from East Coast Bodily Harm even got in the ring. Or at least one member didn't. And also the referee is Nadia. Nadia Nice, I believe.
Yeah. Was she also a wrestler also? Because she was wearing her face gimmick.
She was also a wrestler. She was also dating the Stro at this time.
Good for him.
So, Nadia, she was a female wrestler. Not that great. The vivid memory that I have of her was her at a Marvin Ward show, which was Night of the Superstars. Is a big, legend shows. It had Ivory taking on Jazz, and they really wanted to get over Nadia, but they didn't want to have her wrestle somebody of that caliber. So they had her do a run-in on the end of the match, and they were going to set up and just have Ivory and Jazz beat her up. And also, too, you didn't want to put Ivory over Jazz or Jazz over Ivory, whatever. You
needed a rubber there.
Yeah, so like we'll just have like some random heel come in and do a run-in, try and beat up both of them. Like she's a big monster heel. Well, she came in for a run-in, and she ran into the side of the ring as opposed to slide in underneath, because she tried to slide underneath the bottom ropes. Well, she must have tripped or stumbled, and she just hit the side of the ring and crumbled. And it was like she was supposed to run in on a 1, 2. So she hits the side of the ring and crumbles. So this is a weird moment. We're like, where's she at?
Like 2.5.
Where's she at? Oh, she's falling down to the ground now.
I gotta go check on her.
Yeah, pretty much. And then it's just really awkward. That's my vivid memory of Nadia.
Poor girl.
Okay, so I got a few things in this match. First of all, you guys wanted to talk about the Stro. What the fuck kind of name is that? Would be my first question.
When he was in WCW, he was a piano-playing virtuoso called the Maestro.
Okay.
So when he went
Stro.
So he just shortened it to
It's like
Stro.
the least classy abbreviation of the classiest word. Like, I am a maestro.
Well, much like the Undertaker, he had to
Stro, bro.
he had to evolve his character because he milked the whole being a maestro thing on the indies as long as possible. And he's like, I want to be a little bit more serious now, so I'm just going to be the Stro
I'm
and
gonna
wear a
wear
USA.
pajamas with a fucking American flag on it. I'm gonna be more serious and call myself the Stro, which I assume is short for Stromboli or something. The last thing I would have thought is maestro.
But let's let's even back up a little bit further, though. The reason why he got his WCW job is because Macho Man Randy Savage was dating a woman, and he wanted to call her Gorgeous George, which was, a legendary wrestler, Gorgeous George.
Yeah.
Now, Robbie Eagle, the maestro, was very, very intelligently, he was Gorgeous George III, and he put a copyright on the name Gorgeous George. So when WCW, Ted Turner, AOL-owned company, went to license the name Gorgeous George, like, oh, somebody owns this. They found out who owned it. It was a wrestler. They wanted to buy it off of them. And he's like, no, I'll tell you what. Why don't you just give me a guaranteed contract, guaranteed TV appearances, and I'll let you have the name. And he took that, used that TV time, and he's been milking that TV time for now, almost 2 decades now?
I wrestled a show with him last night.
Oh, wow. So was he like... He was guaranteed a certain number of spots, and he's been like stretching them out.
Well, no, like he at that time, and then when he got famous, he's been stretching out that fame.
Okay,
yes,
exactly. That company's defunct.
Oh, they ran through his appearances as fast as possible and got him rid of him as quick as possible. But he wouldn't have been there if he didn't have that and didn't work that leverage, and he definitely wouldn't be commanding more money than even me if he didn't have that TV time. So I can't argue and fight the hustle of that.
No, that's great.
He's
surprised the company went for it.
He's a super nice dude, man. He's weird as fuck, but he's super cool, man. And nowadays he's doing a Bray Wyatt gimmick.
Okay.
Where he pushed last night. He came, like, he had face paint on, and then he had this veil on, but he was still wearing the same like shorts singlet gimmick that he was wearing here. Like, it's all black, but like short leg singlet. And he comes out with these like long skull hands, and pushes a baby stroller to the ring with like a dead baby doll in it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like a strobe light that kind of goes off as he walks. It's real weird. But
intensified because he's a little
because
weird.
He's
as well.
weird. He's a weird dude. But it goes to his intelligence because he did Maestro and then he did Stro, and then that basically became a different Dusty Rhodes. And now he's doing a Bray Wyatt-esque gimmick that kind of gets over. So my fun time last night was spent. The show I did last night was XWW in Monroe, North Carolina, and the guy that runs it is also a music producer, and he had an after party at his studio. And in his studio, he has like a makeshift theater room. Real fucking cool. So we YouTubed old Stro matches and watched them with Stro. But it was real weird. It was real meta. But like, we were like super cheering for Stro to the point where I think he felt awkward about it and eventually just left. He's like, I'm going to go home now. Because we were like starting Stro chants and holy shit.
He's like, either you're making fun of me or I should be afraid of you.
Yeah. But then, like, so he leaves, but then it came into like Evan Courageous, kind of like it was like Stro versus Evan Courageous, and then like a bunch of Evan Courageous matches came up. It was just a whole weird night of just Stro feeling real awkward, just kind of staring at stuff, and us watching matches with him. And he told us that whole Gorgeous George story. I never knew that until last night.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of dead babies, I didn't realize that the ref was a wrestler, because I guess I'm dumb. I just thought she was goth and really committed to it. Because she's wearing, like, the pale makeup, black lipstick, a choker, a fishnet undershirt. I'm like, the fake gray hair, I was like, that is a hardcore goth move to like go old lady hair because you look like you're in your 20s. Like,
yeah, you buy tickets to every Morrissey concert, and you were disappointed every time he no shows.
You went vegan for this.
Her body language the whole match was like she was very concerned about all the violence. I think that's why I also didn't think she was a wrestler. It was like she was very tense and like worried the whole time, which maybe that was meant to be the plot thing because I guess she's supposed to be fucking the barbarian at the end. So maybe that was like a thing.
Yeah, it turned on, so I guess that's kind of the thing.
And then, who the hell is East Coast Bodily Harm? I assume it's a guy that looks like Ted Nugent. And then some other guy who didn't even get in the ring?
I
was confused about
I
this
thought the
whole
Ted
match.
Nugent guy never got in the ring, but there's like a couple
He did for a second.
Yeah, like...
The whole thing, I couldn't remember like who's on what team, because I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah, it really kind of blurred. I lost track even at one point, too. I know Sean Cruz was in the ring, and the reason why I know Sean Cruz is because I vomited in his front yard years later. So I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. I vomited in your front yard, and Dr. Love had to help me into his car.
Wait, so is Dr. Love the dude that runs the comic book store in Roanoke, Virginia now?
I don't think so.
Because I did a show, me and Caleb did that show at the comic book store in Roanoke, and Sean Cruz was there, and it was this Sean Cruz.
Yeah.
And that... Whatever you said his name, Daniel
Messina.
Sounds familiar. It sounds like it was him. I believe it was him. He runs a insanely huge comic book store.
Did you ask him to do the dance?
Oh no, I didn't know about the dance. I didn't know about the dance yesterday. And this happened a couple months ago.
Caleb should know who Dr. Love is.
Yeah, I'll have to ask Caleb if that's the same guy.
What was his very beautiful wife there?
No.
With her random British accent there?
No. I probably kept her away from the boys for good reason, it would seem.
She was always around.
Nah. Well, I'm like from this show.
Yeah, maybe.
This is a couple weeks ago. So
I have no idea what Dr. Love's doing. All I know he got married to a very beautiful woman who was kind of traveled around because of the army, and she was in the UK for a while, so she has this random British accent,
like a Madonna style British accent.
It comes in and out a little bit, and like certain names, and it always pops up for his name. So I see why he's just madly in love with her. Not only she's a beautiful girl, but she's like Daniel. But then she'll like have this southern accent, and then she'll be like, Daniel, what are y'all doing over there? Like,
you fucking with me, lady?
Yeah, it comes in and out and stuff like that, but it is very adorable when it shows up. So.
It's not to me when people get all mad about that and Madonna or Johnny Depp. It's like if I talk to someone from England for 10 minutes, my sentences start going up at the end. Like, just subtle things, you know what I mean? Like, I would be full on Cockney if I lived in London for a year.
Well, the few times that I've been like overseas, like the few times I've been in Germany or like in a different country that has a different language, like speaking that broken English and trying to conform with their speech pattern, so they understand your broken English and your attempt at like really shitty sign language. Like you form to that pretty quickly. Their pattern of speaking, even with not speaking the same language, so they understand what you're talking about. It. So I imagine if you're talking about English and there's different speech patterns, you're going to adopt that.
Yeah.
And that's what I always thought was interesting with her is she picked up these weird things. So it's kind of like the Bond villain View to a Kill, where they justified Christopher Walken being the Bond villain, but he was supposed to be from East Germany, but he was also a French industrialist. And he has to spend time in England, so that's why he has a New York accent.
When you mix all those together.
Yeah, back to the whole Walkenisms. Any special line in this match that I said, Matt?
Well, yeah, so this is the first match where I heard Brad say Jake Manning. And so I was like, holy shit.
This whole time?
That's when the coffee cup fell and you saw Kobayashi on the bottom. And then I got a car and I had, and I committed sexual assault. That's what happened.
I had already had a few notes in previous matches about how much better an announcer this Brad guy was. He was really like trying to yes and you and throwing you stuff and you're just laying clunkers. It's fucking great. So like
me doing improv in 2015.
More or less. So I think this is the last quote I had because it's my favorite thing in the whole fucking show. So Kevin Matthews does this like push-up taunt.
Yeah, match number 6, Brad Thomas versus
Kevin
Kevin
my
Matthews.
bad. Yeah,
but we're right there anyways. We're right there. Go right
So Brad sets you up with this great thing where he's like, you ever hang out with Kevin Matthews socially? He's a really great guy, you know. He likes to sneak out of paying the bill and play like he's like, because they're both heels. Like, it's a fun thing. So all you have to say is like, you guys are creeps or something, right?
Shut up, you jerks.
But instead what you say is, well, did he do push-ups when you ran out of the restaurant without paying?
Because he just did push-ups. I stand by that line 12 years later. I stand by that line 12 years later. It
doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he almost stand by it. You can stand alone, but you can stand by it.
He almost saves it. He makes it sound like... He's like, oh, that's kind of a nasty way of saying it, making it like a dirty joke somehow, I guess. But it doesn't... It doesn't make any sense at all.
Because he's beating up a guy.
The thing just happened.
Yes, he's beating up a guy. He does push-ups.
When he robs people, he also does push-ups. Okay, I didn't connect those dots.
It's funnier when you explain it. Am I right? Like, stand by it. 12 years later. Stand by it.
Still living.
Makes sense.
But Brad Thomas... probably one of the best Southern baby faces ever, at least of
I don't know.
my
This match
generation.
was. I didn't really watch this match because it was everything that I saw was so good that I was like, oh, there's no need to pay attention to this.
Really, and that's the thing, and I feel bad that that's kind of what happened to Brad Thomas's career. It's been oh, it's so good, and they just get overlooked. Like in this climate today, like he should be wrestling in NXT. Like he was just such a perfect Southern babyface. He couldn't get any better than that. He was so technically proficient.
He was a Ricky Morton student, wasn't he?
Ricky Morton, and then also when Ricky went into jail, because the thing is, like, he would drive Ricky around.
Yeah.
So he was kind of Ricky's students, and then Ricky had his whole legal issues, and then Ricky started traveling by himself, and then Brad started driving Bobby Eaton around. If you're going to have two teachers, being Ricky Morton and Bobby Eaton, like some of the two best professional wrestlers of all time, and still, like, nothing happens in your career. But also, too, a lot of thing is he got stuck taking those guys to legend shows where those guys got to be stars, where, like, you know, like, perfect example, Tribute to Starrcade, which is a show we discussed on this very podcast, which actually happens a few weeks later after this. After this show, like, he was supposed to be the first match, but they got cut. I'm like, oh, we don't have time for it. You know, when he probably would have been one of the better matches on the show.
Probably the best match on the show.
And that's a lot of what happened. He would be driving, you know, Bobby Eaton or Ricky Morton around, and then sometimes he would get on the show, and sometimes he would just be running their merch table when he should have been on the show, wrestling main event, and he's going to give you the best match on the show, guaranteed. Like, still one of my better matches that I ever called in the ring was with Brad, and literally all we said was like, hey, how about you go for a crossbody and move out of the way, give you a swing neck breaker, and then the finish is a crossbody. Okay, cool. And then we called the rest of it in the ring, just on the fly, on the move, and it was like, you know, 15, 20 minutes, and all we have is two spots that we said maybe about.
Yeah.
And it worked out great, and he was just, and I just wrestled him a year ago. I know he's wrestling a little bit more. He's actually a pastor right now in West Virginia, so it's a shame that nobody could really, like, on the larger audience.
It's a shame he turned to Jesus and did some wrestling.
That's what I meant. But it's a shame that nobody could really, you know, get to see how good he was, because he was top notch. And you talk to anybody, because he used to do a lot of empty arena matches, like kind of custom matches, like on the men's side, where it'd just be like just a lot of holds and stuff like that. And anybody that wrestled with him were like, this guy's great. People should know more about him. And that was like a group of people that had like Matt Stryker, Nigel McGuinness, Doug Williams, Cole Cabana. All those guys are like, why does nobody know about this guy?
Yeah.
And that's the thing about Brad Thomas, is that nobody knew how good he was. So
everybody knew, just it never got out.
Yeah, it never got out. That secret never got out. So, because independent wrestling was awful at 2005.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I thought it was definitely the best match. It was cool because Kevin Matthews is like a foot taller than him. So it was some neat.
And wider, too. This is just a monster of a man. Where does he at anymore?
Kevin, he's on Global Force,
okay,
or Impact, or whatever they're fucking calling it these days. The promotion that Caleb works for, he puts a mask on for.
Gotcha. The one where he's a different Trevor Lee.
The one where he's also Beefy Suicide too. You know that one. So
Beefy Suicide. Name him a porn tape.
That's what I order at Taco Bell.
Yeah, Beefy Suicide. Party box.
Speaking of match gimmicks, match number 7, Soul Reaper versus Ivan Koloff in a Russian chain
What
match.
the shit?
I had never seen a Russian chain match before, so I didn't know what was going on for a while there. Like, did he break the string? I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? What is happening?
Well, you know, a good commentator would tell you the rules of a Russian chain match, but
He'll just go ahead and start commentating in the middle.
Yeah.
so I don't think the commentator explained that.
Yeah, well, you know, you
Did
said
you
that
figure
it
it out?
was... So, this is my favorite, like, story thing in the whole show, is that this guy is a bounty hunter.
Ivan Koloff slighted this man, and now this man hired a man.
Yeah, which misunderstands what a bounty hunter is, I guess. But I think they mean assassin or something. But just like he's just gonna beat him in his own game, like his favorite kind of wrestling match. I just love off the wall shit, like a secret character called the Soul Reaper, who's a bounty hunter.
Who's in all blue.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the colors I would assume a Reaper of Souls would
Yeah.
wear. Maybe black, a little bit of purple, maybe some gray.
The whole color scheme of a lot of this seemed like 10 years late. Like, there's a lot of very like neon greens and stuff that felt very early 90s to me.
But yeah, when the match happened, I was like, I was just like, he was like, what the fuck is going on here? But I'll tell you what, Brad Stutt's doing a good job on commentary, adding an actual story to this about Ivan Koloff refusing to shake Neil Rouse's hand. That's when he hired a bounty hunter and he wanted to beat him in his own match. And Ivan Koloff.
Okay, it was Brad who said all that good stuff. I was mentally giving you credit for it a minute ago. But
It wasn't me doing a Brad Stutz impersonation after meeting him 5 minutes earlier. No.
My only quote for this one was that at one point you said, I think you used to work for the WWWF, which I thought was funny, because there was an extra W.
No, because they used to have an
There used
extra.
to be an extra
Oh,
W.
what?
Yeah. They weren't the WWF.
Worldwide Wrestling Federation?
Yep.
Wow, how long ago was that? Okay, because I just thought when I was like a kid before...
He was even a
Yeah,
little bit
WWE.
before that. It would have been like in the
okay.
70s
Yeah,
sometime.
Well, why didn't they just go back to that and tell the World Wildlife Fund to fuck off? We should just...
You know what? Good fucking question. Didn't think about it until right now.
just put that W back in there.
Quite a good idea, man.
Good fucking idea.
Let's get Vince on the phone. Maybe
That's
we
20
can.
years too late, probably.
Hey, you've got just as good as resume as anybody else that's writing for him right now. So just submit something. You'll probably be writing Monday Night Raw.
Freddie Prinze
Occasionally hire
Jr.
comics, right?
Yeah, they would hire you.
Freddie Prinze Jr. was a writer there for years and years and years, like 10 years or so.
Yeah, you got a nice HP laptop. You're,
There.
Yeah, wasn't Bob Mould from Husker Du and Sugar
Yeah.
was a writer for a long time for
Guy from Husker
WCW?
Du, yeah.
Yeah.
Guys,
I feel
anybody
like there
can
was
do
a
it.
couple comedians, but I can't think of who they were.
It wasn't Louis C.K.
Oh boy. R.I.P.
He had a good run, Lou.
My first note when you first see your commentating partner, Brad Studs, I assume 2 Ds and Studs.
Stutz.
Oh, Stutz?
2 T's.
2 T's.
Oh, okay. I wrote R.I.P. Ralphie May.
He does look like Ralphie May.
He does.
Oh, I hope he doesn't have the same fate, but he probably will.
He's getting there.
Ralphie May, old cautionary tale.
I mean, if
Stutz
that
is-
was svelte Brad Stutz,
Yeah.
I'd be a little worried.
Oh, Brad. He just got back from a porn convention in New Jersey because I saw it all over Facebook. But then he would talk about all these big-ass buffets they went to. And I was like, man,
It's like,
this reads more like an obituary at some point. This is going to be bad.
Is this a suicide note?
Have you given up? Like when it was like, waitress is amazed by the amount of sushi 4 fat guys just ordered. And then the rest of the table, Brad Stutz.
Speaking of tragedies.
Bring it back in, guys.
Match number 8, Trey G versus Buff Bagwell. This match was actually featured on a live edition of $5 Wrestling. So let's remember. But Trey G is actually the promoter. He's the one wrestling in tearaway pants.
Which blew my mind.
Yeah, they were already falling off when he was in the ring. Like, I think he'd want something a little bit more form-fitting.
Well, it looked like he was wearing gear under it, so like I assumed at some point he would rip away the pants.
Yeah, but that never happened.
No,
but that was kind of like Hang Time's thing.
Yeah.
I think he would have the tear away pants. But yeah, he just wrestled.
Well, obviously they would never repeat the same gimmick twice in one show. I mean, that would be crazy.
Everything's got to be new.
Third fake handshake was in this match.
Yep, the gut kick. Yeah. Did we wrestle Trey G at WrestleCade that year? We did the 6-man. It was you, me, and someone else versus Victor Andrews. Maybe that was Willie G.
It was Willie G.
Okay.
It was definitely Willie G. It wasn't Trey G. I might have only wrestled Trey once. Fine. It took care of me. He was a great guy. And like I said, he always was the promoter. Always took care of me. Always was very nice and booked me in his shows. I wish he was still wrestling, too, because I'd make a whole loop out of it. Again, where I get drunk, falling asleep on the beach, get a bad suntan, do a show, get up the next day, do a comedy show, and then come back. So, wish he was still running. But, no, I haven't seen him wrestle in a very, very long time. But wrestling Buff Bagwell, I mean, hence why it's so later in the show as a promoter, you got to deal with so much shit. Like I almost got to give a pass on anything that happened in this match because like he dealt with so much bullshit before he got in the ring that like, what am I gonna do? You know, other than talk about the high crossbody that wasn't really high, like in the end,
It's barely a crossbody.
I don't know. This is at least the third match where the ending was the ref gets knocked out for a second, and then the person who should win gets a pin, but the ref doesn't see it. Like, I think it happened 4 or 5 times in like 6 rounds of this.
Welcome to Southern Independent Wrestling, my friend.
I know there's like a limited number of gimmicks, but you gotta spread them out more. I feel like.
There's a lot of it.
But it was cool seeing a guy who looks like he invented steroids getting his ass kicked by a guy who looks like Jim Norton.
Buff is the man. It busts the stuff.
Yeah, and Buff working real hard. Because that's the guy that's giving him the pay envelope at the end of the night. So
again, there was like one... Oh, it was the one guy I'd heard of... Wait, was it Christian or Edge who was in the one I was on last time?
It was both of them.
Both of them, that's right. And so they really stood out, and Buff Bagwell really stood out of this one. I was like, I get why that guy is like a thing. He's very charismatic, you know.
I wrestled Buff Bagwell about 3 months ago.
Okay, I didn't know about this.
He had a staph infection.
Oh no!
He was super late, and he looked real like sickly. He came in and he had like this weird... Well, he had just a regular bandage on, but when he got his gear on, he had this sling that went from like his forearm up to his shoulder and then like kind of wrapped around his body.
Yeah, he had the shoulder thing when I wrestled him.
Well, he had like the full deal, and then because it was also covering... He had staph on his elbow area. Okay. And it was covering that. And like he would break out into random sweats, and he kept asking me to towel down his back.
Oof. Oh no! He always breaks out. He's always broken out in sweats. And he keeps a towel no matter what to wipe himself.
And
off.
he's like, I can't reach my arm back here. My arm's all fucked up. Can you wipe my back? And I did it maybe 10 times that night. I'm like, this is how I get staph and die. Yeah. But he wanted to do this thing called a test of strength, which is where the guy does his hands up like this and they grab and they He wanted to do that, but he can only lift one hand. He can't lift his other arm. So he was in the ring. Got the left hook up, and then you had to grab his right down low and lift it up for him. So you could do the thing.
Goddamn, Buff, just take care of yourself.
I was like, man, you can just come in and do one fucking thing.
Yeah.
Well, he's like,
don't pick a thing where you have to raise your arm up over your head.
I was like, man, why don't you just do the strut, and I'll bump from the strut.
Yeah.
Bump strut, strut and pose, and I'll just bump off that. Like, come on. These guys don't give a fuck. You're here. That's all. They want to see your hat.
Yeah, they want to see you do the fucking deal. Like, you don't have to do any of that. And that was the thing with him. He had the big shoulder thing when I wrestled him. He also had Kevin Nash on the outside, and I spent most of the match trying to make Kevin Nash laugh. Because they came out, it was like NWO. And I go, what? How bad did the NWO get that he was in here? And Nash was like, I know, right? And then like Buff was starting to get a clap going, trying to get the crowd to go, Buff, Buff. And I looked right at Buff and go, you're just lucky that you have a name that's one syllable. And he looked right at me and goes, I know.
Buff is great, man. Buff is such a nice dude.
Yeah, I was taking a nap because it was a long day because we had to set up the ring and like he goes like, hey man, can I go over the match? Make sure. And he goes, oh, I'm really sorry I woke you up. I'm like, no, it's okay, whatever. And he was just such a polite gentleman. And like I always like enjoyed seeing him in WCW.
Yeah.
So and he was always I've always wrestled the name. On a wrestling show, and Buff was like one of those names I hadn't wrestled yet, but I've been on a lot of shows with. So the fact that I got to wrestle him was that's pretty cool. It's actually on my DVD set. I was very happy about it.
Yeah. Early Buff Bagwell was like one of my favorite wrestlers. Like a Too Cold Scorpio tag team and all that stuff, and Patriot and all that stuff. Those were always my favorite. Like he was my favorite for the longest time as a kid.
Yeah, and he takes care of Trey G in this match, and
super nice.
Yeah, so good match.
One
overall.
of the good people that are still around.
Yeah. That.
He tried to call like a fucking match.
Yeah.
And I would have to be like, kid, calm down. Let's cut some of that out.
Yeah.
Slow it down, Buff.
Yeah. You got another couple of matches to go.
Yeah.
You got some fame that you still have to milk off yet. So.
You ain't got to try to get a job against me.
Yeah.
I'm going to make you look good regardless.
Yeah. You just showing up is you earning your money.
Yeah, exactly.
And then a lot of people have a lot of bad things to say about Buff. So
I've never a bad word about him.
Exactly. Did I say anything stupid during this match?
I didn't have anything written down, but I'm sure you did.
Okay.
At this point, it's a fucking given.
Yeah, it's a given. I think Brad Stutz may have left me at this time, so I'm left alone to my own devices.
I'm merely alone again, guys. Merely.
But let's just go ahead and get to the main event. Match number 9. Zane Dawson, Corey Etzel taking on Casey McKnight and Rick Steiner. Casey McKnight, for those of you who don't know, is Scott Dawson from The Revival.
Yeah, for the WWE. So. Zane Dawson there and Zane Dawson today. You called him Shane Dawson a lot?
Yeah, you called him both.
Because once again, that's all I heard on the microphone, so...
For a second, when the title card came up, I saw one of the people's name is Zane. I was like, wait a minute. No way.
Now to see, so Zane now looks like I do, but maybe 2 inches taller, but like the same beard that was like down his belly button. Nice. He has vastly changed from sparkly biker shorts to today.
For sure. But and Casey McKnight wearing the generic singlet as well that most wrestlers wore at that time. But there's still a lot of potential. I don't know how long Casey had been wrestling at this time. I can't imagine it being like a year or two. But like the joke is always that he's my mortal enemy. Like if he is Bret Hart and I am his Shawn Michaels. We have a hatred for each other, but we haven't hugged it out yet. But it's always a professional hatred of like who is better. Yeah. Obviously, since he's working for WWE, he obviously won. But I'll just get all pilled up and disagree with that. So I'm very much probably in my second act phase, or I'm in my short biker shorts, stuffing shit into my crotchal region, giving thrusts on SmackDown era of Shawn Michaels. I don't know what era of Shawn Michaels I am. I don't know if I've lost my smile.
Show you this kayfabe dick.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm what era of Shawn Michaels I am comparably to his Bret Hart era. I'd like to believe that I'm in my second act era of Shawn Michaels, and he is in his soon-to-be concussed.
Where's your eye located at this time, Shawn Michaels?
I feel like I'm googly eye Shawn Michaels right now.
Always googly eye Shawn Michaels.
Like, I'm not winning the title anymore. I'm just making the guys winning the titles and title matches. I'm giving them, like, making sure that John Cena is a good heavyweight champion. Yeah. I think that's the only thing I'm right now. Yeah. I'm about ready to get that glow stick money. Shawn Michaels.
He, like, has a sponsorship with glow sticks? Is that a thing?
Well, DX, they sold glow sticks as merchandise.
But like DX, the same ones you'd get at the fucking skating rink?
Right, because, like, that green is their color. Right?
Yeah, and so they would sell them, but they'd have the little DX logo on there, and they'd sell them, they'd throw them out in the crowd, and then when they come out, people put them up. Made all kinds of money.
Merch.
Yeah. Get that merch money.
Gotta make that light stick money, boys.
Putting over the Spirit Squad.
Yeah.
That's about where I'm at right now.
Seems like a great thing to steal.
Yeah.
Glow sticks cannot be expensive.
Buy them in bulk.
I do like one of the lines in here that I said. It was Casey McKnight needs to calm down, which is something that I always used to say about him personally. I was like, you need to calm down, Casey.
So angry for.
Yeah, he would always like on a dime, just like he would get hot like immediately. Like when he worked at a bar, if somebody did something just slightly aggressive, boom, he'd be the first guy there. So he was definitely a good guy to have as a bouncer.
Yeah.
Even though he was not as big as Zane Dawson. So
I wrote a fat joke. It says, is Edsel named after the giant Ford model from the late 1950s?
Corey Edsel also for sure.
He was in NXT for a while, or the FCW.
Yes, or he was definitely in the developmental program for a time. And basically the thing that got him hired is he was able to do a drop kick at that size.
He's an enormous man who could move around pretty fucking well. I was impressed.
Nowadays, he's like Jake's size.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know if you've seen Corey anytime recently, but
he needed it because I think carrying all that weight around was rough on his knees,
Yeah.
much like carrying around all that weight was rough on my knees. But I think WWE is going to go back to that as the bigger guys, you know, and I think like if he was around or is as big or like molded it a certain way, like he'd still be in contention because that's like the big rage right now.
yeah.
Or like the Keith Lees, the Walters, the big guys that move around, like cruiserweights right now. And he was kind of doing that before everybody else was. When people were yelling at him, like, "Hey, don't do all this stuff that the small guys are doing," when really, like, doing it before everybody else.
Yeah.
So, anything else we can say about this match?
I had a couple things. There was a cool powerbomb thing where I think I forget which guy, but he was like in the corner and Corey Edsel's like dragging him back, and so he does a powerbomb because he's holding on to the rope. So like as he pulls him back, it's pulling him up, and then he finally lets go and it like slams him down.
Yeah, Casey.
That was cool.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And then my favorite guy, maybe the whole show, was the manager, who's like the black dude in the suit. His just like cheering people on, I believed more than anything else anyone did the whole time. He just like, I don't know, couldn't look away from the guy.
No clue who that guy is. Still to this day, I never saw him at any other ACPW shows.
He's just a dude. He's just a black man in a suit. You assumed he was somebody.
Doing well, maybe.
He's got to be important. He's wearing a suit.
Maybe he was sent there by, No Limit Soldiers
Maybe.
Incorporated.
Maybe Master P.
Master
sent
P.
his boy out there like Corey Etzel.
Master P was representing people. He was representing Allen Iverson at this time. Maybe he got into the wrestling that way.
Yeah.
So.
They're just looking for somebody.
Yeah.
Check it out, Hang Time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he was there with Zane Dawson, I believe, because Corey Etzel was with Brad Studd, so you got the two managers on that side. And then, of course, Rick Steiner, before that slow decline into Rick Steiner being school board president and real estate agent, Rick Steiner. So this was like kind of the beginning of him going, you know what, I'm not going to really work out anymore. I'm just going to be a dude.
Golf.
I'm just going to be a dude.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I've wrestled enough. I've worried about my body enough. I'll let my brother do all the steroids now.
I'm going to go have a cake.
Yeah.
I'm going to go a whole cake.
I'm going to have a whole cake. Screw it.
Fuck it.
I earned it.
I did.
I earned it.
I did a thing or two in my day.
So, anything else we can say about this match?
No. It happened.
no.
It's over. The same... What was the finish on this one? Was it another schoolboy finish?
Rick Steiner back in, deliberate choke. Ref, you gotta turn around. There's a deliberate choke going around. Rick Steiner, being a veteran, should know that you can't let his emotions get to him. What was the other one I wrote down?
Fair point.
There's a deliberate choke going around.
Yeah.
Like a cough.
Ref, you gotta turn around.
It's like whooping cough. You gotta let people know. It's like a staph infection.
I bet the ref can hear you, too. Like, shut the fuck up.
Probably. But yeah, good show overall for a live crowd. Maybe if you're watching this like on a video download or YouTube or DVD or whatever, it can drone on a bit. But
Well, there's just too many matches with a zillion dudes in them who were completely undifferentiated to me. Like just a bunch of random white guys without much, specifics to their personalities or whatever. So a few of the matches I was just zoning out a little bit. I'm like, who are these people? What's going on? But my thing for the whole, I thought the most consistent theme I found through your commentary and sort of the plot or whatever well, besides generalized misogyny, was the equating of intelligence with the ability to cheat. Like, that was really a point that was hit over and over, which I feel like could really teach us something about America in these times.
The smarter you are, the better you are at cheating.
Yeah,
So,
those are the same thing.
Are you saying that there's some truths that still ring true today? Is that what you were trying to communicate
Yes, Jake.
here?
I was
It's
saying
still
you were
resonant.
ahead of your time by predicting.
That's all I wanted to hear.
Stop there. Leave that.
Stop there.
Leave that.
It's stuff that I should hit stop right there. That's all I wanted to prove. That my commentary was ahead of, much like Corey Etzel's wrestling. My commentary was ahead
You
of
were
its time.
the linguist Corey Etzel of your day.
Listen, I just wanted to prove that point. But like also too, like another reason when I watch the show, I'm like, I'm glad we picked this show because I mean, let's look back. Like, all right, I'm doing commentary. Like, Casey McKnight, who's Scott Dawson, who's now with WWE or now and Raw. Corey Etzel was in developmental. Zane Dawson's kind of a bigger thing.
He's had a couple tryouts too.
Yeah, he's, but still a presence on the independent scene, especially in the Southeast. Brad Thomas is kind of a big deal, but Kevin Matthews is on Global Force, Impact Wrestling. Ivan Koloff, a Hall of Famer. Buff Bagwell's been around, block a time or two. Stroh's been on TV before. Barbarian.
You need to put a little bit more respect on Stroh's name.
It's the very first women's title.
Well, Chrissy Vane was with WWE for a very short period of time. Amber O'Neill's been around the block. I knew that came out right.
Misogynistic still?
Still
Well, as you
misogynistic.
see, some things haven't changed, Jake.
Oh well, the joke was right there for an innuendo, but like no, she's still currently wrestling all over the place. She's got an action figure, so fuck me, you know what I'm saying?
She was the bullet babe. I mean,
exactly. She's done more with her career than mine, so fuck me, whatever. Mr. Hughes been around, obviously. Charlie Dreamer, when he was wrestling with us, was a considerable force to be reckoned with, I would say. And then, of course, Brad Studd's doing commentary and his involvement with CWF. These are kind of notable people that you can bump into now or hear their voices or see their work. And they're all on this show in some form or facet. Yeah. People walking in that probably don't realize that, oh, this person's going to be on Monday Night Raw. Oh, this person's going to be on SmackDown. Oh, this person's going to be on Global Force. Or this person's going to end up being a bigger deal globally or in the independent scene. This is just a regular random indie show in Roseboro, North Carolina. These people walked into and paid $10 for it. Yeah. So if anything, this speaks to local art. You know what I'm saying? Like obviously, like in Charlotte, if you walked into
a show, like coming to one of my shows, you're gonna tell everyone one day about how you saw me for $5.
Yeah, well, it's just like
now I'm on SNL or something resemblant.
But we have people like Jordan Scott Huggins, who's in New York right now, Spencer Taylor, Nick Alexander in Atlanta right now, and multiple other people are moving to Atlanta. Who knows what their career is going to go? And you can look back.
Your time with Joe Zimmerman is like opens for Brian Regan on the road now.
Paul Hooper, a lot of those guys that you could have walked into an open mic or a show that you or I booked for $5-10. You could see people that are going to end up headlining and opening up for big people or have their own HBO or Netflix specials. And
that one lady from Charlotte just did her larger blonde-haired girl. She's on the Netflix special.
Fortune Feimster.
Yeah, Fortune. She's from here.
Yeah.
So, but it's just one of those things that just if you see something locally, whether it's wrestling or comedy, maybe go ahead and pay that $10. You never know who you're going to see.
You can see the future.
You can see the future. But speaking of the future, we'll discuss when this episode's going to drop. I have kind of a question that you and I have to discuss, but let's just go ahead and say if we're going to give everything maybe mid to late December on dates that you want to plug and stuff like that.
Jesus Christ.
Well, let's give people a heads up, on some stuff.
In December?
Yeah.
Jesus' birthday is coming up.
Yeah.
I
I
don't really have anything. I got something. You said mid. I don't have anything.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work a lot.
Okay.
At the bar.
You can work a lot in December. What do you got in January? Let's talk. Let's get
let's go to January.
Let's get a jump.
Well, we got SuperCon in Miami coming up.
Yeah.
FSCW. Deadpool and Roadhog hitting the road again.
Yeah. January 12th, 13th, and 14th are those dates.
January 20th, I'll be at the Queens of Combat Double Shot.
Okay.
In, what is that town? Gibsonville, North Carolina?
Gibsonville, North Carolina.
Me and all the amazing, talented female wrestlers. And I will be saying misogynistic things, so...
Making awkward comments about getting on. I mean, between them.
I don't know if I was actively trying to do that or I realized what I did and I said in the moment.
And you trying to fix it made it worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Okay, good.
Kind of mid-fix, not good.
Okay.
But that's about what I got in that time.
I'll write an apology that doesn't have an apology in it.
And funny enough, at the... Yeah, right. And for the...
Uses the word admire 12 times.
And for the sake of what our content was today, what's today? This is November 12th.
Yes.
We're recording this.
Yes.
This coming weekend, I'm wrestling Zane Dawson, actually, for the first time.
Nice.
In PWF in Hubert. So that will have been about a month removed when you actually hear this.
Which is part of the reason why I wanted to do this today. We were recording this episode on the 12-year anniversary of this show.
Oh, well,
I noted that. I forgot to mention it. Yeah.
But what do you got coming up, Matt? Or at least your Twitters and all that stuff.
Yeah, at Smash Falcon for some reason on Twitter. And on the 11th of December, I'm at Crown Station at 8 p.m. I think, opening for Dusty Slay, who's
Dusty Slay
one of the funniest dudes I know, so that's going to be fun.
For sure. Also, too, in December, I will be wrestling for Northeast Wrestling December 9th. Also, too, the All Organic Comedy Show will be coming back to the Evening News December 20th. December 21st, I will be the Craft Comedy Series at Cabarrus Brewing Company will be happening. And then, of course, like I said, the dates in January, the SuperCon. Also, too, January 5th. I will have a show at the Mill in Cornelius as well, and more dates as always. But now time for the review. As of this time of recording of November 12th, we still have Adam Bachler is still the name that we will be saying. Sensei Bach, that's actually his Twitter name, so I appreciate that. Also, too, there's somebody else that tried to write a review. They said, hey, they're not letting me write a review iTunes is not letting me write a review. So maybe iTunes is being shitty, like Facebook's being shitty, not letting me invite a certain amount of people to the How Did This Get Booked Facebook page.
Yeah, sons of bitches.
They said that, you can't invite this many people because you're inviting people too fast.
Yeah, you're too over right now.
There's all sorts of weird arbitrary stuff like that.
But of course, if I was paying $1,000 in ads every month, they'd let me do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah.
So just
as is the world, boys.
As is the world. Maybe iTunes is mad that we're plugging people to write reviews on our show, so they're trying to stop us there. But keep trying to write reviews, and I'm going to keep saying Adam Bachler's name until iTunes stops being a dick about it. But hey, you can write reviews on Stitcher. That helps as well. Also, iTunes on YouTube, SoundCloud, Google Play as well. Those are all available. Where you can subscribe, write reviews. All that helps and lets people know more about the show. Also, to make sure you log on to howdidthisgetbooked.com for merch and more information about upcoming shows. Me and Zane are probably going to talk about some upcoming shows here off mic and discuss what's going to be coming up. Maybe we're going to get ahead.
Oh man,
Maybe
we're way ahead right now, aren't we?
Well, we're going to get a little bit more ahead if we do my plan. Okay. So just listen to Daddy.
Put your wings on. I'll follow you.
Listen, Daddy. And of course, if we made any mistakes, or if you want to talk about how big of a misogynist or how shitty I am in commentary, please tweet me at ManScoutManning, or you can email me at jake@sslshow.com. This has been another edition of How Did This Get Booked?
Woo!